Rev up your engines! Liam Peterson says, Scotty, what was your experience driving a new Ford Maverick? Yeah, I've been in a few, made some videos, customers had them, right? And I was rather impressed by how they ride because, realize, this is the first Ford pickup that's front-wheel drive with independent suspension. So it rides more like a car. They're selling the heck out of them because of that. Because women get in them and they say, hey, this doesn't ride like a truck. It rides more like a car. And being front-wheel drive and a light vehicle, it's not a body-on-frame truck. It's not like a Ford F-150. It's got a body on an actual frame. It's unibody construction. It weighs less. They ride better, and they get phenomenal gas mileage for a pickup truck, especially if you get the hybrid version. You can get 40-something miles a gallon on the highway. But on the other hand, they're made in Mexico, so I don't know how long they're going to last, right? But they are fun to drive for a pickup truck. And that's probably one of the reasons they're selling the heck out of them. Toyota, they say they're going to make this Toyota to compete with it, and if they make a front-wheel drive when it rides better, you know they'll sell the heck out of it because Toyota sells like 5-10 times as many Tacomas as Ford sells Rangers, and if Toyota starts making a small pickup, you know they'll start selling like hotcakes. Well, now Ford can't move all the Mustang Mach-E electric cars that they have for sale. They used to have a long waiting list, but no more. Now they got them lying around. They can't sell. I've driven around the East Coast or looked at car dealers, see all kinds of electric cars in the lots that are for sale. Nobody's buying. Some of the writers say, well, the electric cars seem to be cooling down their sales. Yeah, they're getting ice cold now. 61.5% of their Mustang E's have been sitting for 30 days and longer at the dealers unsold. Like I've been telling people, you can build whatever you want. That doesn't mean people are going to buy it. Would you pay that kind of money for some new electric design that's made in Mexico? Realize all the Mustang E's, they're all made in Mexico, right? They get to a certain level and there's a glass ceiling for most things, right? I mean, I remember back in the day, AMC, before Chrysler bought them, Gremlin, these weird-looking little cars, right? And they sold a whole bunch of them the first couple of years, and then dropped like a stone. They hit the glass ceiling. There are only so many people that wanted these ugly-looking Gremlins, right? And they like them. They like weird-looking cars, you know, like old Volvos were all like boxes, right? Some people like boxy cars. Some people don't, right? In the case of electric cars, oh, these people are enamored of the new technology. All those people go out and buy them. Then the people like me, and the vast majority of the people I meet say, I'm old enough on electric cars for a while. It doesn't look like the whole scene is set up right for them, right? And this is just the beginning of it starting to come. As they're pushing more and more and more, and then more and more people see the reality of electric cars, you think it's bad. Now trying to charge them up. Wait till there's a whole bunch more and there's no infrastructure for them. Then, yeah, they'll be sitting on a lot, all right? And then they'll be shutting these factory production way down because they can't sell them. They got a whole bunch of them lying around. Nobody's buying them. Guess what? Eventually, they have to stop making so many of them. There's so many people that'll buy a Rolex watch, right? And that's it. They charge a whole bunch of money. It's a snob appeal, right? Well, I think electric cars are kind of the same way. A certain amount of people, oh, I like this, I like this. But then, hit the glass ceiling, everybody else is like, I drive around the country. I tow stuff. I can't have an electric car. And it's already starting. Jaguar says, Scotty, would a 92 to 96 Ford F-250 460 manual be a good truck? Depends on who's taking care of it or not. You know, I mean, if it runs good, hey, snap it up. They're always worth some money, right? Manual transmission, you're not worried about automatic transmission breaking and costing a fortune? Realize, okay, you're talking 92 to 96 Fords. Those things are rust buckets. If you get one from, say, Texas, Arizona, Florida, that didn't go to the beaches all the time in Florida, and the frame isn't rusted and it's solid, yeah, great. But if you see the frame's rusted, run away. They're worth nothing. You're not going to do a frame-off restoration on one that's that old. But if it's not rotted away, great truck. Just realize it will get absolutely horrendous gas mods. Those old ones are big, gigantic gas hogs. But you want a nice truck for pulling stuff around, and it's in good shape, just check for rust. Because if it's rusted, run away. Francis Sinatra said the 8th generation Civics have an external automatic transmission filter under the air filter. I keep getting conflicting opinions. Should I change it or not? Would you change it? Of course change it. It's a filter, you know, and it's easy to get to. It's right there. They did that on some because they had problems with some of the earlier transmissions. And yes, change it. I would change it every 40,000 miles. What the heck? It's a filter. There's nothing wrong with changing a filter on anything because if it gets dirty, it'll clog up and you'll have problems. So, and it's metal, so you can't see inside. So I'd change it every 40,000 miles or so. What the heck? It's easy to get to. Change it. There's nothing wrong with changing a filter. And what you do when you take the filter off, measure the fluid that's in it and add that tiny amount back in. It won't be much, but add that little bit in. Adam Francis says, how about those Pontiac Vibes? Best cars out there. No, the Matrixes are better. The Pontiac Vibes were merely a Toyota Matrix that Pontiac sold, but they built them in California, right? In that Fremont factory. And they had a lot of problems in the factory. The quality control of building those was nothing compared to, say, my 2007 Matrix that was made in Cambridge, Ontario. The Canadians did a much better job of building the Matrixes than the Americans did the Vibes. The Vibes still have Toyota engines, Toyota transmissions, Toyota brakes. A lot of them have an AC Delco alternator instead of a Nippon Denso. The Nippon Denso's better. But they are very similar cars, only the Matrixes were better made. They're made by Canadians. They weren't made in California, where they ended up shutting the factory down. And then, of course, now it's the same factory where Elon Musk started making his Teslas, Fremont, California. So what comes around goes around, I guess. JT Fishing said, Scotty, what is a good car scanner? Well, good is a relative term, right? Good for me may be bad for you, okay? I got a new scanner. It's an Autel, does EV cars and regular cars, but it's $5,000. It is the best scanner I've ever had, hands down. It's insane, right? Are you going to spend $5,000? No, you aren't. Now, Autel also has a $500-something one. It's an excellent scan tool, too. Doesn't do what the $5,000 one does, right? But it's an excellent scan tool. Maybe you don't want to spend $500, right? Well, then you could go and get something like the Canadian one, the Blue Driver. You use your phone to interface it, and they charge between $100 and $120 depending on coupons and stuff, right? Since your phone already has all the software and all the hardware in it, all you're buying is a dongle, and you're getting their software on the internet. Now, you could get their software on the internet for nothing, but of course, if you don't have the interface, it won't do any good. So you pay them $99 to $120, and those are excellent for getting quite a bit of information. You're not going to get the information you get from the $500 one, and the $500 one, you're not going to get the information you get out of the $5,000. How much do you want? How much do you want to pay? That's what it comes down to. Fred Aram says, what do you think of the Honda Odyssey with the ZF transmission? Well, that would be the best one then. Because Honda Odysseys, people like them. They're good vans, right? Except they had horrible transmissions that broke all the time. You put a ZF transmission, those are made in Austria, excellent transmissions, much better vehicle. Because the Honda transmissions, they were garbage. And those vans. Gotta understand, Honda's what? A small car manufacturer. They make small cars. Then when they made a bigger van, they screwed up. It was too big and heavy and the transmissions kept breaking all the time. ZF probably makes the best transmissions in the world. Every year they sell like 3.5 million transmissions worldwide to other people that put them in the cars that they're building. But those Germans know what they're doing when they're making those transmissions. Aji says, do you think that more competition in business is a possible solution to planned obsolescence? Well, of course it is, but what exactly is competition? On some things, yeah, there is pretty much open competition, like take cell phones, right? iPhone would love to sell everybody iPhones for $1,000-something a piece, right? Well, the Chinese make some pretty good Android clones, right? They work fine. They cost a fraction of that. There is real competition there, right? The problem with a lot of stuff is there really isn't competition. Like you see a million gas stations out there. How can the price is about the same in all of them, right? Well, but if there is actual more competition in business, it is better. Because if somebody makes a product that breaks in 5 years, then you find another one that doesn't, guess what? People are going to start buying them. That's the only reason companies like Toyota sell millions of cars in the United States. Because they make cars that didn't break. Eventually people figured it out and they started buying them. They didn't particularly love the Japanese. They probably remember Pearl Harbor, the older ones, right? But they're like, well, this thing doesn't break. Like when Toyota came out with their Toyota, originally it was called the T100, but then they decided to call it Tundra because Ford was going to sue them if they called the big one the T150 because the F-150, right? And everybody said, the Billy Bobs, they ain't going to buy those pickup trucks from them Japanese. They're going to buy Fords, right? Well, they're buying them now because they see they don't break down. And Billy Bob wants to spend his money on beer. He doesn't want to spend it on fixing his truck all the time. So there's a lot of Billy Bobs in Tennessee driving around in Honda pickup trucks, which people thought would never happen, and it did because they made things that didn't have the planned obsolescence. Well, the 2024 Cadillac Lyriq, the electric car, is finally getting actual door handles that are deployable and come out. They had hidden ones that didn't, right? And you had to push a special button to get them to come out to open the door. Well, to me, this makes total sense because let's face the facts. Who buys Cadillacs? A lot of old people buy Cadillacs. Go to South Florida. You'll find all the oldsters from New York driving their Cadillacs, right? Do you really think these old people, their main audience, are going to be able to figure out, where's the door on my car? I can't get in. Help me, help me. So they realize they got to have real door handles that come out so they can grab and get in their car. This is almost as bad as that Bud Light stuff. Let's really change our advertising campaign and see what happens. Well, they lost a few billion on that. Well, Cadillacs realized, gee, a lot of old people drive Cadillacs. They might not be able to figure out how to get in the car. We better put a door handle on it. But then again, it took them a year. The first ones didn't, right? So I suppose the old people complain, how can we get in our car? I don't understand this. Another example of GM not understanding their own clientele. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.